this here. Author Chris Du Toit has created a gem, a pacey account of life through the eyes of a little boy and many other characters that will have you in stitches. He joins me now in studio to talk about his offering called Some People. Chris, good morning, welcome.
Thank you very much, Sam.
For the benefit of our viewers, just give us a brief synopsis of Some People.
Well, it's about, I taught at Pretoria Boys High School for many years, and there were some interesting teachers, unconventional one. There's one particular unconventional one, and I vaguely based it on him, and he encouraged his classes to write about any subject, and they could have it private or public or read it, or just to encourage them to write all the time. And I thought that was a good idea, so I created a form, and I take them from Form 1 to Form 5, and the book is full of what these boys write about every aspect of life.
Yeah, I suspect that there might be a film in here somewhere.
Well, I hope several, Sam. Thanks.
This is so incredibly funny. I want to get that out of the way. This is hilarious. Talk to me about the humor here, Chris, because it's obvious. It's some of the humor you don't see coming. But one thing you never do is you don't put the book down ever.
Well, I'm pleased that you find it funny. There's some serious bits too, Sam.
No, definitely.
Anyway,
because you've mixed it with life. I mean, there are some life lessons here.
Well, you know there are two Jewish boys in the class.
For sure.
And they tell Jewish jokes. Now, they are the funniest. I mean, there is nothing funnier than Jewish jokes, as you know.
Yeah.
You know, like the doctor says to Mrs. The patient says to Mrs. Cohen, Mrs. Cohen, I'm terribly sorry, but your check came back. And she said, so what about my arthritis? But I mean, there are many, many more that are so funny.
The funniest one for me is the conversation between AB and
David.
When they meet on the street, and he says, "I've heard that you've survived a horrible."
You've been horribly assaulted in a forest, and he said, "It wasn't much of a forest; it's just a few trees."
I think that's funny. I like that kind of humor.
Well,
talk to me about that balance, though, because what you've done is. You've got these live stories, and then you've thrown in these unobtrusive quotes that people might not be aware of. They've seen it at one point in their lives. It's not. Some of them have been forgotten through years and years, and you re-educate them.
Yeah, well, I'd like to think that. I wrote an Afrikaans book many years ago, Onder het gesê, with lots of sayings, and I've always enjoyed reading books of sayings, and I think they fit in very nicely.
Yeah, you've slipped them in before you realize it, you're reading a quote.
I always feel that if you forget everything about the book, there are a few quotes you must remember. The Plato quote, for instance. Yes.
Talk to me about that, because ultimately at the end of the day, for me, I almost felt like the book wasn't really aimed at me, but it did take me back to those moments that I've forgotten, that's been layered over years and years of whatever people go through. But it does take you through, for example, what wetties are, for example. It took me back to my original... I was doing a flashback with a friend when we were talking about wetties.
Well, it's a very embarrassing subject. I don't think we must talk about it in great...
No, we won't talk about it anyway.
But I think that the writings of the boys are honest, and their sexual encounters and so on. And I think it's a good thing that people talk about sexual matters. There's a big thing about having sexual education in schools and things like that. And I think the book would help towards being more honest about it, more open about it. The boys write about their sexual experiences, and I think people will find that interesting.
There are illustrations that go along in this book that are beautifully drawn. How did that come about? Because you've already got the life stories, you've got the quotes, then you throw in illustrations.
Well, I taught with Walter Battis at Pretoria Boys High School. He was a wonderful, wonderful teacher, especially with problematical boys. Famous. And he is, as you can see from the book, the most wonderful draftsman. And I said to him, I'm writing these books, will you please do the illustrations? And he said, yes, of course I will. And if you can find the illustration where the boy stands next to the pretty girl, I said to him, Walter, I need a drawing of a hot girl, a very beautiful, sexy hot girl. He said, I'll do it for you. And it is there, somewhere in the book.
Why should people, for people that don't know, why should they get this book? I think I can tell them why, but I want to hear from you.
I think they must get this book to be entertained, to watch the wonderful drawings by Walter Battis, to be excited. I also give them lessons about how to write a book. Perhaps they're not always the right ones, but I think it's so, it covers such a wide field. It's very difficult for me to tell you which I like. I like the two film scripts. Did you like the film scripts?
I haven't even gotten to that part. I'm going to get there. I'm going to sit today. I'm going to finish the book. But I do want to encourage everybody at home, though, please go and get it. It's one of those books that I promise you is going to make an excellent Christmas gift. It's called Some People by Chris Du Toit, illustrations by Walter Batters.
It is the second edition, the better edition.
This is the better edition. You heard it from the man yourself. Let us know what you think if you've read it. Morning live at sabc.co.za. Take a night break.